Hey movie fans, welcome back to After the Credits, where we break down the latest and greatest movies, including our favorite scenes, quotes, trivia, and even how we think it should have ended. Grab a bowl of popcorn and enjoy the show.
Hello everybody, welcome back to After the Credits with Tyler and Dylan, and joined also by my good buddy Paul. If you listen to the previews episode, you will know who this guy is. Been friends for quite some time, over a decade. Like it was,
That's I think what we came to. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So we're having him on today to talk
That's like
about
10
a couple.
years.
I know.
Yeah, I think so.
Math.
Yeah. Yeah. The English teacher giving us math lessons, so I appreciate it. But I hit him up because there's a couple movies that him and I. It seems like we discuss them at least once every time we get together. At least it at least gets brought up. But I wanted to have him on to talk about a couple of them. So the first one here is Inglourious Basterds, Quentin Tarantino.
It's our first Quentin movie.
Yeah, it is
Wow.
first Tarantino movie. Yeah. We were saving it for. I have a buddy that I worked with who she's a huge Tarantino fan. Named her dogs Quentin and Tarantino. And then another one named, I believe, Django.
She keeps him on a chain. Or is
No,
he
he's
unchained? Yeah, okay.
But she's a huge fan of Tarantino. We were going to have her over and just do a broad discussion of all the Tarantino films, and it just never worked out. So we saved it, but now it's perfect because of how much you enjoy this movie and how much I enjoy this movie. Before we get into storyline and stuff, real quick, and I want to make it quick, ranking top 5 in order of number 1 being the best to the fifth, your fifth favorite
Tarantino films?
Yeah.
Oh, well, Bastards is first, for
Okay.
sure. After that, Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
Number 2. Number 3, I don't think this film gets enough credit.
Reservoir Dogs?
No, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's good.
I think it's a very misunderstood film.
It is.
And what it's trying to do. After that, I'll be honest with you, like I'm not a huge, like I've seen every Tarantino film.
Yeah.
But a lot of Tarantino films, I either love them or I hate them. Hot take here, not really big on Reservoir Dogs.
I'm not either. Yeah. It's
Not
his
really big
first
on
film.
Kill Bill.
He was trying to.
Don't like Jackie Brown.
You don't like Kill Bill?
No, I like the first Kill Bill's okay. So maybe I'd put that at number 5.
Yeah.
And then probably Django. Like I think he's getting better as he makes film, but I think his peak just is like in Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah.
I think this is my masterpiece, is what he says, right? I think
at
that's
the
pretty
end. The
pretty
last line of
direct.
the
I think
film.
that I think that Bastards is his masterpiece.
Yeah, yeah. I would probably put it's tough for me because I'd probably put Inglourious Basterds at number 1, but I really, just because of the cinematography and how it was filmed and the stars that they have in it, I would put Hateful Eight right.
Oh, I forgot about Hateful Eight.
Right
yeah,
next to Inglourious Basterds.
Hateful Eight takes
like,
Kill Bill's spot for me.
Yeah, like Inglourious is number 1, I believe, and then Hateful Eight would be 2, then probably Django, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then probably Pulp Fiction.
I was gonna say, I feel like Pulp Fiction's got to be in the top 3 though.
You know,
it was so revolutionary.
That is true.
It was like Tarantino's.
I would probably put it in place of Kill Bill. I'd move it up in place of Kill Bill and put Kill Bill in my last place spot. Just because Pulp Fiction was what made Tarantino kind of like a household name-ish. You know,
Reservoir Dogs was culty, like it's got a cult following, but
Right.
like
But not-
Pulp Fiction was. I mean, it's a cultural landmark. I think.
it's an artistic masterpiece. Like it's a brilliant film. So Dylan, what about you?
Do I have to name all of them?
I fucking guess.
I mean, I don't know. Like Jackie
Name
Brown,
top 3.
Like Jackie Brown, I wouldn't. You guys didn't name.
No,
I've never
I
seen-
said that's in my my waist bin.
I've never seen Jackie Brown.
I guess at top 3 for me, Pulp Fiction, Hateful Eight. Well, fuck. I guess I really like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood too.
It is good. It is good.
and
Even though hot take here, by the way, Dylan hates fucking Brad Pitt. So I'm surprised that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is up there.
I mean, I just don't. I don't buy into the hype. It's not that I hate them.
That's fair.
It's just I'm not buying into.
I mean, I believe the words you said
I'm
was-
not
was
drinking
if
the
Brad
Charlie
Pitt
Manson
fell off a
Kool-Aid
building.
for fucking Brad
not
Pitt.
to go down a rabbit hole, but like watch. Have you ever seen the film The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford? It's a story of Jesse James, right? Watch it, and it'll change your opinion on Brad Pitt. You suddenly realize, holy shit, this guy can act.
Also, 12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys, yeah, of course. Like that's where he gets like really crazy,
It's
but
a
like
really, really good
it's
one.
such a subtle character with Jesse
Yeah.
James and so perfectly done.
Yeah.
And there's none of the Brad Pittism in it,
Right.
So give that movie a shot and come back and let me know if
Okay.
it's changed your opinion on him.
So you
That's
said-
that's what changed
I'll let
my
you know.
opinion on him.
So you said
Okay.
Hateful Eight, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, but then also you guys didn't mention this movie. It's one of my favorites. Dusk Till Dawn.
I don't think
I
I've ever
don't
seen
think I've
Dusk Till
even
Dawn.
seen that.
Was he a producer or was he the director on that?
He's a director.
Was he really?
I don't think
Yeah,
I've
the
ever seen it.
vampire movies with George Clooney.
Oh, It's
Death
probably because
Proof.
George Clooney was
Death
in it,
Proof.
is why.
We forgot about that too.
Death Proof too. Yeah.
Oh man, damn.
Yeah. Did he do Sin? No, he didn't.
No, he didn't do Sin City, but he did. I do believe he was involved in it somehow. I think he was a
It's a
producer
very
on it.
Tarantino style
Yeah.
film. Like, well, both of them.
Well, it's
are.
very comic booky and
Oh yeah,
artistic.
which I love.
But Dusk Till
Sin
Dawn,
City movies
that's
are so
the one.
fucking good.
George Clooney, like they're held up in a bar and the vampires come out, like they're all in Mexico and shit.
Huh.
And
So is that like his horror film? Because I know he does like one from every genre.
Right, he's got his spaghetti
would
western.
kinda
He's got
be-
his
Kung Fu is
historical
yeah.
war film.
I mean, but it's also very like cowboyish in a bar, but fucking there's vampires.
he does that though. Like with this one, it's
Yeah.
it's with Inglourious Basterds. It's the
Well,
same
he's
way.
in that
It's-
movie quite a bit too.
Who?
Tarantino.
Yeah, Tarantino puts himself in almost all of his films.
And in this one, he plays the brother of George Clooney's character, and he basically plays kind of like a weird, creepy pedophile.
It was actually written by Tarantino,
Not directed,
but directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Oh.
I was gonna
but
say.
Tarantino's writing is just as important as his directing. in
Oh,
every
for sure. I
movie.
mean,
Oh, I was gonna
Yeah.
say I could have swore he fucking directed
Yeah.
it. But
with how it's with how his movies are
Yeah.
written, like that, you really don't need too much direction.
I don't give a fuck. It's still in my top 3.
That's fair.
No,
That's fair.
Yeah,
Well, that's
it's
the
still
reason.
it's still
'cause,
Tarantino piece of art.
Yeah, I mean that George Clooney, he has tattoo, a tribal tattoo that goes all the way up and all the way up to his neck. And at one point, I really wanted tribal like that, so I did it. Now I'm changing my mind.
Now I'm going back and getting rid of it.
Because it's not 2007 anymore. Yeah.
Right. Things change. But yeah, so yeah, I
Except for you,
just
Jason
because
Momoa.
people have very strong opinions on people have very strong opinions on what Tarantino films are their favorites, which ones they like. So I was curious as your guys' top 5 or in Dylan's case top 3. So yeah, the storyline for Inglourious Basterds, if you aren't sure or if you aren't aware, which if you're not aware, go watch this fucking movie. Like it's long, but it's fantastic. So in Germany, occupied France, young Jewish refugee Shoshana Dreyfus?
Shauna Dreyfus.
Shoshana witnesses the slaughter of her family by Colonel Hans Landa, or Hans Landa, I guess. It bothers me in the movie how
It's pronounced two different ways.
How Aldo says it, Hans Landa,
Hans Lander.
and then Hans Landa,
Yeah.
But narrowly escaping with her life, she plots to revenge several years later when German war hero Friedrich Zoller takes a rapid interest in her and arranges an illustrious movie premiere at the theater she now runs. With the promise of every major Nazi officer in attendance, the event catches the attention of the Bastards, a group of Jewish-American guerrilla soldiers led by the ruthless Lieutenant Aldo Rain. As the relentless executioners advance and the conspiring young girls' plans are set in motion, their paths will cross for a fateful event that will shake the very annals of history. So yeah, if that is not enough to get you excited about watching this movie, it's not going to be for you. So the tagline for this movie was "Once Upon a Time in Nazi-Occupied France," which is also
How it opens.
the opening title for
Opening
the first scene or for the first act. Directed by Quentin Tarantino, written by Quentin Tarantino, released August 21st, 2009. Dylan,
Yo, what up,
What movies
Bo?
came out in 2009?
2009. Well, probably one of my favorite movies, The Dark Knight.
I get all warm and fuzzy. When
That
I
was
think about
2000.
that
I
movie.
thought that was 2008.
It's 2009.
09.
Dang.
Yeah, I was
what a good
working
year
at-
for movies.
No, wait.
Yeah. Well,
This
Oh,
movie
God
came out
damn.
in 2009 or 2008?
and the release date was August 21st, 2009.
Thanks, Paul.
You
Oh,
fucked
man,
up.
I
for
keep,
that
I keep.
fact check.
Yeah, sorry.
You fucked up.
I just remember I was making out with a girl in senior year of high school while watching The Dark Knight, so that's how
And you're like, okay.
I knew I was still in high school in 2008.
I love the comparison to how you found out what year it was. That's great.
She wasn't. She
Making
wasn't
out.
the best.
My apologies. So, 2009, The Human Centipede.
Maybe not as great a year for movies.
Say what you will, but no, I'm not going to try to defend that fucking
Here's
movie.
one of my favorite movies that came out, The Road. You
Yes,
Oh,
seen The
yeah.
we
Road?
were just talking
Yeah.
about that on the. Or no, sorry,
I
that was
wasn't.
the Green Book. Sorry, both Viggo
Yeah.
Mortensen.
Yep.
Viggo Mortensen was in The Road. That's a good movie. It's
a good
very
book.
good movie. That too.
And then also Watchmen came out.
Oh, hell
It's
yeah.
one of my top 5
I think
favorite
an
comic book
underrated
movies.
film. I don't
Very
think it gets
underrated.
enough credit.
When it first came out, it was another one that didn't get the recognition that it deserved, and gained
cult following.
It gained a cult following, but it also gained a very high pop culture following as well. Like where it's very heavily referenced,
Highly philosophical film.
yeah, and very very brutal. Like, oh god, I love I love that. And then they did what HBO and Disney is now doing, and they made the Watchmen TV series, which I didn't watch. I don't know how it was.
It was good.
But
Was it?
It was good.
It? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you liked the movie, and if you were, I don't know, even the slightest bit of a Snyder fan,
Oh, yeah.
or if you really liked the comic book,
The graphic novel.
then the actual book, then you're gonna like this series.
And that's what got me into watching the movie Watchmen. The Watchmen is the graphic novel, and how well it stuck with the graphic novel was why I loved it. Which when I heard they were going to be making the TV show, I'm like, God damn it, man.
Well, the comic book is, or the graphic novel. Sorry, I'm not a comic book guy, but the graphic novel's now like studied in like colleges
Is it really?
and stuff. Yeah, it's
That's
it's
awesome.
just a deeply philosophical.
Yeah, I was
It's
gonna
a
say,
really
it's
fucking good.
super super deep.
Yeah.
So yeah, Watchmen.
Watchmen. I already said the Human Centipede, and I already said
For some reason,
Hangover.
Dylan wants to keep bringing up Human Centipede.
I'll never forget watching that movie for the first time.
It's not something
And
that anyone likes to
my-
admit that they liked, but they always like to be like, I remember when I first saw that fucking movie.
Yeah,
and I can't
so
scratch it out of my brain.
So I got to tell the story. I was working overnights, and I get home like 8:00 in the morning, and my girlfriend at the time was leaving for work, and she looks over at the TV and she goes, "What the fuck are you watching?" And then sits down and proceeds to watch like another 10-15 minutes before she leaves. The next night, I start watching The Human Centipede 2.
Which is way, way worse.
Well, a film like that needs a sequel.
It's dumb.
If there's one
It was a
And-
very cash grab situation.
And almost the same exact thing happened with a little bit of a twist ending.
After that, she was no longer his girlfriend.
She goes, "What the fuck are you watching?" And I go, "A sequel to a movie yesterday." Does not sit down and watch a little bit.
No.
Gives me a dirty look and fucking walks out the door.
This relationship is over, you freak.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I did not enjoy the second one.
I didn't enjoy the first one.
Fucked
Yeah.
me up. Speaking of sequels, Boondock Saints 2.
That came out in
2009.
2009.
I
God
guess,
damn
yeah.
it, dude.
All Saints Day.
That movie was such a sad.
It was so bad. They had so much potential. It's so much potential.
I don't know.
They're
Did
writing
it?
the third one. They're currently
Oh,
writing
Battle
the
of
third
the
one.
Smithsonian came out in 2009 too.
Oh, is that the Night of the Museum movies?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Night of
okay.
the Museum. Pink Panther 2. Nothing really big. I guess I wasn't
So-
watching.
So
I mean,
what you're telling me is that Inglourious Basterds won a lot of Oscars.
Exactly. With the popularity that Quentin Tarantino had built up at this point, this is probably the biggest release of that year.
Yeah.
Most likely. Came
How
out
many
late year.
did it
mid-late
win
year.
Oscars?
Yeah.
And if so, how many?
So I know that it won.
2012. I forgot.
I
yeah.
know. Yeah, 2012.
That wasn't a bad film.
It
That was like the
wasn't
first
terrible.
of the.
It was
no.
very-
Day After Tomorrow was like the first like end of the world.
Yeah.
Not the very
Yeah.
first Waterworld.
Oh, is
probably.
that one with the Statue
don't
of
talk about
Liberty?
Waterworld.
Like all like under ice.
That's
and
close. Yes. Yeah. You're.
It's
that is
all
one.
of them.
Yeah.
It's the joke.
Yep.
That's the bit.
Greenland.
But like, what was I saying?
Oscars.
Yes. Christoph Waltz won Best Supporting Actor for Colonel Hans Landa, and there was another. I don't know if it didn't win Best Picture, but it won. There was a few. I think it won like 3 awards. Can you look that up, Dylan? Can you check and see how many Oscars or how many? Just 2
Well,
Oscars because you get an awards.
While
That's
he's
weird.
doing that, I remember watching Bastards for the first time, and as I'm sitting there in the theater, I'm thinking, this guy before Christoph Waltz was like a household name, and I was thinking, oh my god, this guy's the perfect Bond villain.
Oh yeah,
Right,
he
and
ends
then
up
they made him a
being-
Bond
yeah.
villain, and I don't think I'd ever been more excited for a Bond movie ever because it's like this guy was born and bred to
was
be a Bond villain, and it was
unfortunately a
arguably
letdown.
the worst of the Craig films, right? Completely wasted an opportunity. Now that being said, I'm not going to shit on
it's
the
not-
Bond films.
It's
but
not Christoph Waltz's fault either.
no, it
why
isn't.
that
It was
movie
just
not
a
good.
poorly written
It was just
film
not
that
a good
tried to
movie.
do too much. That being said, their most recent installment perfectly wraps up the story. And
haven't seen
oh,
it.
you need to because
Is it
it salvages a lot of the mistakes.
Because the past 2 before that were
No,
letdowns.
Skyfall was great. But Quantum of Solace, the second film, it was like every Craig film. Every odd Craig film was perfect.
maybe that's what it
every
was.
even Craig
Yeah.
film is garbage.
Yeah.
We're talking about Academy Awards, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was nominated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
6, 7, 8 times, but only won one.
Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz for Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director,
Oh, wow.
Original
Wow.
Screenplay, Cinematography.
What won
Even
Best?
though it
I wonder what
wasn't-
won Best Picture that year.
Who in
2009?
Well, it would be 2010. 'Cause
Best
it's always at the
Picture?
beginning of
Oh,
the
you're
year.
right. It's in February, isn't it? January, February.
March
Oh.
7th, 2010. Google
2010,
machine,
it
do
was
your thing.
The Hurt Locker.
Oh, I never saw that. I heard it was good.
It was good. It was very good. Yeah. I believe it was the guy who plays Hawkeye who just got hurt. God damn it.
Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy Renner. He was in it. He was the main guy. But another war movie.
Lieutenant Hawkeye, what happened to your leg?
Damn, because he just got really fucked up. With
That's
his,
cold.
Like he just got hit by a
Snowplow.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it was his own snowplow, but
yeah, saving his.
I
nephew.
work. I use. I don't know what my Edge. I use Microsoft Edge because I'm edgy like that. Straight edge for life. And I open up a new tab and it's got like headlines, and fucking every other new tab is Jeremy Reiner.
Yeah.
Jeremy Reiner lost his leg. Jeremy Reiner, how's he doing?
I'm
Did he
pretty
lose
sure
his
it's
leg?
Renner. Say it correctly.
What is it?
It's Jeremy Renner.
Renner?
he's just doing an
Reiner.
Aldo thing.
Rob Reiner. Jeremy
Gorlami.
Ah, okay.
It might be Reiner. I don't fucking know.
I don't care about movies.
But
or
yeah, that was
anything.
a big story. When, we're getting off on a tangent.
Yep.
Let's do the box office. So, budget was $70 million, which for what they did with this is a pretty low budget in my opinion. Gross U.S. and Canada was $120,540,719. Opening
Well, I'm
weekend,
sure we'll get into this later, but practical effects are
well,
cheaper.
Yeah, and that's what he uses in almost all of his movies. And Tarantino is very, very outspoken, like how Scorsese's outspoken about Marvel films. Tarantino is very outspoken about CGI, about how he wants little to none in his movies. He wants to be. He's a very old school film director, and that's just how he is. But opening weekend it did $38,054,676. So it didn't. I mean, opening weekend that's still pretty good. But then it fully grossed worldwide with $321,457,747. So it made all of its money back. Did really well in the theaters. Obviously nominated for Best Picture. Yeah. So why don't we talk about the cast, because really this whole cast is
The
fantastic.
cast makes this film.
Yeah, yeah. The cast that's in the actual movie. They
Literally,
they
they
all
make
do
the film.
Yeah, they all do such a great fucking job. So we've got Dylan's mortal enemy Brad Pitt as Lieutenant Aldo
damn,
Rain.
I'll just keep my fucking mouth shut.
No, I mean, you just hate him. It's no big deal. We got Brad Pitt as Lieutenant Aldo Rain. He had such a good performance, and I'm pretty sure that he was also nominated for an Academy Award too because of his performance. Melanie Laurent played Shoshana. She was amazing. Man, the scene when she finally, like, you've got what was the actor in the Nation's Pride.
Frederick Zoller.
Yeah, well, you got Zoller comes to the photo booth at the end, or the projection room at the end when she's doing, and like tries to get with her, and she
But that's
basically tells him off, like just her.
That's not even her best scene though.
It's not, but like
I think her best, like,
Hey,
the
should
moment.
we save this for
Should
favorite
we?
scenes?
Yeah, we probably should.
It's not a favorite scene.
I was
but
gonna
we
say
can
the
move on.
thing
Okay,
that's-
then say
No,
it.
it's not my favorite. I just
Just say it.
I was gonna say the thing that stuck with me is that I can't get out of my head is the image of her head like hitting the side and dying.
Oh, yeah.
When she dies, it just it sticks
yeah.
with me in my head, rent free. But there's other scenes that she's in that are just so fucking good.
I'm gonna save
the-
because she's in one of my favorite scenes.
Me too. Yeah. So we'll get there. Christoph Waltz, Colonel Hans Landa, obviously won an Oscar for his performance. Was fucking great. Eli Roth, which I loved seeing Eli Roth in this. Sergeant Donnie Donowitz, the Bear Jew. He was fucking great. Michael Fassbender was a fantastic cameo. I will never. I don't think I've ever seen anything Michael Fassbender's done and not enjoyed it.
I heard Assassin's Creed sucked.
I didn't see Assassin's Creed.
Then you stick to the truth here.
Yep.
Hey, so would he be considered a cameo if he's in that much of the movie?
Because he wasn't. So I believe the what a cameo is somebody that's not advertised as being a main character when the movie is released. So it's not like when the credits roll. It's not like.
So
Brad
then
Pitt,
bringing in Mike Myers,
Christoph
for
Waltz.
example, obviously
Yep.
is a cameo,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Right.
like the fact that he's not credited until you go in and see the film.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Okay.
And the only reason that I would say also that it could not be considered as a cameo is because it's a big part. Like it's a pretty large part that he's
A
in.
significant part too
Exactly,
of the
yep.
plot.
Diane Kruger, which I have a have a crush on, Bridget von Hammersmark.
I did not think I didn't even know who she was until I rewatched. I've heard the name, obviously. I didn't know who the actress was until I rewatched it for this. And I agree. I was like, wow, I think I have a crush on her.
Yeah, for sure.
She's gorgeous.
And same with
and
same
a
with the girl who
brilliant
plays
actress.
Shoshana.
But she's not been in much.
No, neither one of them. No. You got Daniel Bruhl as Frederick Zoller. He's awesome. He's also been in. He was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as the Russian operative with the Winter Soldier.
Oh, yep, I remember that.
Yep. You've got Till Schweiger. He's Hugo Stiglitz. I don't. The reason I bring this up is because there's some interesting trivia. He's also a pretty decent character in it, but it's not. He's not like a. I don't. We'll talk about it later. But he does a good job as Hugo Stiglitz.
Well, now I'm riveted.
Yep. Gideon. Oh, Gideon. I'm like, what the fuck? Gideon Burkhardt. He's Willem Wiki, Corporal Willem Wiki. Jackie Ido. I don't know why I have them in there because they're not.
Yeah, you're starting to get into the deep characters.
There's some big ones. So B.J. Novak.
But you could almost say was a cameo, right?
Kind of,
Because
yeah.
I mean, he's a major character, but he doesn't even appear until
and he's got
you
very
get one
few
clip
lines.
of him in one moment, and then he's got very few lines, but all of his lines are great.
Yeah. Well, and he helps deliver the last line in the movie with Brad Pitt too.
Yeah.
But you're right. That's another one. Let's see here. Mike Myers as General Ed Fennick. And then the narrator, the voice of the narrator,
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. He pops
in
up.
every Tarantino film.
Yep. And then Tarantino, like I said, he puts himself in his own movie. So he was the first Nazi that gets scalped.
Yep.
Is Quentin Tarantino. He's also an American soldier in The Pride of the Nation. It's uncredited, but he's one of the American soldiers that gets killed.
Oh, I remember
Pride of-
a few
Pride
years
of
back
Nation.
I caught that.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, those are. Is there anyone else that you guys want to add for?
No, I just wanted to mention that I watched this whole movie and went, I didn't see fucking Tarantino in there, so I looked it up, and then I had to go back.
He does appear for a little second in the Pride of the Nation thing, and then I just found out about the scalping scene yesterday when I was looking up some stuff on this.
Yeah, he likes to put. I think out of all the Tarantino cameos, I think my favorite is in Django as the Australian
that's the
dude.
worst one because the
I
accent's
love
so
it's
bad.
so bad. It's so bad, but I think it's meant to be that way. Is why I enjoy it
His
so
cameo in
much.
Pulp Fiction's got to be my favorite.
That is good too. Yeah, I always forget about Pulp Fiction because it is a Tarantino film, but I don't consider it. I don't know. It just doesn't have the Tarantino feel like Inglourious Basterds or fucking Hateful Eight or
I just think
or Kill Bill. Like,
It's kind of one of the ones that sits on its own island, kind of like Reservoir Dogs does, where
for sure.
like it's not part of that new canon of the post Kill Bill,
Right.
Quentin Tarantino that all kind of feels
fair.
very tied and connected to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. No. Yeah. That
There's
makes
definitely
sense.
pre Kill Bill, post Kill Bill,
That's a
Tarantino
good
in
way
my
to look
mind.
at it.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't ever see that in my brain, but Kill Bill. That's
It's
where
kind
that
of
line
where
is.
it divides.
Yeah.
You really see him come into
It
his
changes
own.
and it's he gets his style set
Yeah.
in stone. Is there any other actors either one you guys would want to add or want to bring up?
Did you mention the guy that plays Hitler?
I
you
didn't.
say
I did not. I did not mention.
Martin
him. Because
999, he
I don't
didn't.
know who.
Martin Wuttke?
Is that his name?
Wuttke? I don't know. Wuttke.
Fun fact is, I'm pretty
Wookie.
sure that this is not the first time he's played Hitler.
He was really fucking good as
He
Hitler.
he was he portrayed a very
But it's
what I would
comical.
think-
It was a very comical Hitler,
It
which
is
is
an
but
over
that's
the top.
Yeah,
but which is a Tarantino thing. It's a very
but it's
over
like
the top.
I mean,
character.
in a good way, it's poking fun at Hitler,
Right,
Right.
yeah.
Which is, I think,
Kind of like
he's a
Taika
very-
Waititi's Hitler in Jojo Rabbit.
Right, yes.
You're just kind of like making fun of him, which
Yeah.
is excellent, and I think
It's a way
gives
to
the
do it.
audience feel comfortable that they're watching a scene with Hitler in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, for sure. So yeah, is that it? Is that the only
For
those are the
cast,
ones we want?
yeah.
Okay, so now I think why don't we jump into the quotes?
Let's do the quotes.
I want the quote. You can't handle the quotes. Here's our favorite quote from this week's movie.
So we'll do a little bit of like a round table here. I'll do one
right.
of mine. You can do one, and then Dylan will do one. So for the first one that I have, it's the conversation between. It's not a conversation. It's just a quote from Aldo Rain. But he's like, "You probably heard we ain't in the prisoner taking business. We're in the killing Nazi business, and cousin business is a booming." That's one of my. I just like. I love how, and it's different than any other thing that Brad Pitt has done, performance wise. Is this like Tennessee Is it Tennessee or Mississippi?
It's Smoky Mountains, so yeah, Tennessee.
So it's that Tennessee drawl that he has,
The
and how he
fucking
talks
accent
is spot on.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's
and
great.
who's his ancestor?
Because in business is a booming. Who?
Who's his ancestor? Aldo Rain's
it's
ancestor.
It's an Apache engine.
Part Mountain Man Jim Bridger.
Yeah, Mountain Man.
Means I got a little engine in me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have that whole monologue. So, at some point we'll be discussing that. But that was my first one. I like that one. That's business is a booming.
But also how Brad Pitt, it's not just the accent, but like how he contorts his face.
He's got that
Throughout the whole
underbite
movie. Yeah.
going
It's
on the whole time, and I
like,
noticed
He's
that.
got
a
this
bit of
like
like a
little,
squint.
he's got little twitches and shit.
Yeah.
I love that
like
they
when he's
also
just standing there.
brought
and,
in the historical accuracy of the
Sounds
snus.
like Dylan's starting to respect Brad Pitt a little bit.
That's no shit. We're gonna turn you. It's not like we have another Brad Pitt movie to talk about right after this, but we're gonna turn you by the time this is over with. But I like the snus that he has throughout the sniffing tobacco throughout
Yeah.
the whole thing. Which
Well, and
people
you
think
notice
it's cocaine.
does he
but
take
it's
the
not.
snus before putting his finger in her wound, or
I think
after?
It's after. 'Cause he
I tried
definitely
checking
has-
that last night, and I forgot to think about it while I was watching. I was like, does he like dip his bloody finger into the snus and snort it? Or?
It's after because he takes it right before he starts talking about how like you got a whole how you broke your leg mountain climbing story.
Yeah.
That's something you guys love doing.
That adds a whole nother level, though. That you got
'cause
this
he's got-
bloody finger going in and then
and
snorting
then
that.
knows
Like,
he doesn't give a
yeah,
shit.
it's just it fits the character. I
It's a
think.
very
Yeah.
gritty,
Yeah.
dirty, style of military man for sure.
Yeah.
You got a quote?
Well, I mean, they're all Aldo Rain quotes are the best ones, but
Pretty much.
I don't know. You can't dismiss "Say Goodbye to Your Nazi Balls."
That's
That's a great one.
To your Nazi
Oh
balls.
no! I take that back. It's actually Fassbender's quote. What is it? He says,
Scotch.
"There's a 10th circle of hell reserved for those who waste good scotch."
Yeah.
And sings, "I'll be rapping in the door rather momentarily."
Oh boy. If you don't mind, I'll finish. Yeah, that's great. I love that whole
The three, yeah.
threes. That's
Yeah.
such a great. Yeah. But yeah, Michael Fassbender's awesome in this movie. Dylan,
Fuck.
quote.
Man,
I've got a
I
few
don't
of
know
them.
which
Oh my God, I
one
got so
to
many.
pick.
There's so many. It's a Tarantino film, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do you want me to go while you look?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So-
Let me get my
Right at the end,
Top three.
after Hans Landa's made the deal and they have to surrender themselves over, and Hans is under the impression that it's going to be a very civil, passover of power and everything like that, and he gets him out. They exchange guns and kind of untie each other, and he just shoots his fucking partner.
Yep.
And he
You
goes,
can't do that.
He goes, Scalp Herman. He goes, "Are you mad? What have you done? I made a deal with you, General, for that man's life." And he goes, "Yeah, they made that deal, but they don't give a fuck about him. They need you." He's like, "You'll be shot for this." He's like, "Nah, I don't think so. More like chewed out. I've been chewed out before."
So I got to tell you that
The whole
quote.
line is great.
I've used that quote so many times at work.
Yeah, no, I'll be chewed out.
Yeah, I'll put a kid in the corner or something. You can't do that. You'll get in trouble. Nah, I'll get chewed out. I've been chewed out before.
I love that line.
It's golden. It's applicable to any life situation.
Another one while you're looking is Hans talking to Aldo, because they have the best fucking rapport back and forth with each other, especially after Aldo gets caught, and when he's asking him his name, and it's Gorlami.
Gorlami.
Say it again, Gorlami. No. Do with some music in it. Gorlami.
Well, you know what's really interesting about that though is that like he says that he speaks. He says, "Well, I speak Italian the best, so I guess I'll be your
And he's
date."
the
And he
fucking-
says, and
Right.
he's the
That
worst. But
was-
what's interesting is you go down the line. He goes, and then Donowitz speaks the second best, so he'll go second. And then what's the third character's name?
I
Starts
forget
with
what
an
his
L.
name is, but that's
He
one of
says,
my favorite
Omar.
quotes.
Omar speaks the least amount of Italian, so he'll be
He's like,
his
"I don't speak
assistant.
any
He goes, "I
Italian."
don't speak any Italian." He says,
Like I said.
he says, "That's why you speak." Like I said, third best. But what's
Shut the
funny
fuck
is
up
then
and
you
don't
go
say
there and it's the reverse order.
Yeah.
Gorlami is the worst pronounced, but then you go Dominic De Coco, and it just comes off
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
like he's the one who
Like it's
pulls it
so
off the
natural.
best.
Yeah.
But right
Exactly.
after that is one of my favorite quotes is because he says, "Yeah, so you just keep your fucking mouth shut, and actually, you know what? Just start practicing now."
Yeah. Why don't you just start practicing right now? But the other one that I liked is after they captured Aldo and BJ Novak's character. Damn it, I can't remember. The
little man.
Yeah, the little man. He goes, "Tell me, Aldo, if I were sitting where you're sitting right now, would you show me mercy?" And after a long pause, he just goes, "Nope." He's like, "What's the English saying for about shoes and feet?" He's like, "Looks like the shoe's on the other foot." Yeah, I was just thinking that. Like that line between the two of them is it's so fucking
No,
organic.
the best line in that whole scene though is That's a bingo. Is that how you
Yeah.
say it?
Bingo.
That's a bingo. You just say bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
You get
I
so
like it.
giddy.
And so and I think that adds to the I don't know if it's good acting or what exactly it is, but he can go back and forth really fucking well.
Yeah.
Like get really excited. Like there's a little bit of manic in those eyes.
Oh, for sure.
But then he dials it all the way back. And
Brings
goes,
it right back to the
Is
professionalism
that right? Is that how you say that? And then gets right fucking back.
Yeah.
Bingo.
He's so good. There's a reason why he won an award for that performance. It's because
Yeah.
it's fucking great. So you had told me, Paul, that you had at one point memorized the opening
The entire
monologue
Aldo
of,
Rain
of Aldo
speech.
Rain introducing himself to the bastards and stuff. So I'm like, well, I was gonna read it, but I'd end up fucking it up. So I was like, I'll just have Paul read it. So go ahead with that.
You got a good Aldo the Apache.
Oh, I've practiced.
I've worked on it.
Yeah, do you want me to read it from beginning
Yeah,
to
yeah,
end?
yeah,
You want
go
me to try
for
to do it as best
If you can,
as
yeah.
close? Okay.
If you can.
My name is Lieutenant Aldo Rain, and I'm putting together a special team, and I need me 8 soldiers. 8 Jewish American soldiers. Now, y'all might have heard of the Armada happening soon. Well, we'll be leaving a little earlier. We're going to drop into France dressed as civilians, and once we're in enemy territory as a bushwhacking guerrilla army, we're doing one thing and one thing only: killing Nazis. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I sure as hell didn't come down from a goddamn Smoky Mountains, cross 5,000 miles of water, fight my way through half of Sicily, and jump out of a fucking aeroplane just to teach the Nazis lessons in humanity. Nazi ain't got no humanity. They're the foot soldiers of a Jew-hating, mass-murdering maniac, and they need to be destroyed. That's why any... Sorry.
No, you're fucking killing it.
That's why any and every son of a bitch we find wearing a Nazi uniform, they're gonna die. Now I'm the direct descendant of the mountain man Jim Bridger. That means I got a little engine in me. And our battle plan will be that of the Apache resistance. We will be cruel to the German. And through their cruelty, they will know who we are. And they will find the evidence of our cruelty in the disemboweled, dismembered, and disfigured bodies of their brothers we leave behind us. And the German won't be able to help themselves but to imagine the cruelty of their brothers endured at the hands and the boot heels and the edge of our knives. And the German will be sickened by us, and the German will talk about us, and the German will fear us. And when the German closes their eyes at night, and they're tortured by their subconscious for the evil they have done, it will be with thoughts of us that they are tortured with. Sound good?
Sound good? That's so great. Yeah, well done. Well done. So yeah, after he goes, sound good, Sergeant Donnie Donowitz, all the other guys go, yes, sir. And he goes, that's what I like to hear, but I got a word of warning for all you would-be warriors. When you join my command, you take on a debit. A debit you owe me personally. Each and every man under my command owes me 100 Nazi scalps, and I want my scalps. And y'all gonna get me my 100 Nazi scalps, taken from the head of 100 dead Nazis, or you will die trying. That monologue is one of the best monologues that I've ever seen in a Tarantino movie. Done absolutely flawlessly by the hated Brad Pitt, and I
The infamous.
and I like every time, no matter what, because every once in a while I'll put this movie on the background because with me I've seen it so many times that it can be still enjoyed as background noise, and I'll put it on in the background. But whatever I'm doing, whenever I stop or whenever that part comes up, I stop what I'm doing and I sit there and I watch that monologue because it's so fucking well done.
I was gonna say I couldn't watch this in the background. Like this would pull me out of everything.
Oh, yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, like as many times as me and probably Paul has, like I get that because there's just so much to unpack throughout this whole fucking movie. But with me seeing it so many times, like I'll be walking around, I'll be fucking quoting it while I'm cleaning or doing whatever the hell I'm doing. But yeah, it's definitely a movie that you need to watch and pay attention to the first like few times that you watch it.
So the interesting thing about it too is that like the movie gets so much when it first came out. For example, I remember the preview for it, and they had billed it with this scene was like the original preview,
Right.
and it was like him going through the monologue, and they're showing different scenes from the film, and it's really interesting because we remember Inglourious Basterds so much just because of Lieutenant Aldo Rain, such a central character. And not to go too deep into something at this point, but it's really interesting to think about the fact that at the end of the day, Lieutenant Aldo Rain, the Inglourious Basterds, are incredibly inconsequential.
Oh, yeah.
To the film. They don't matter, and they seem to get all the credit, both in the film and everything. And really, I mean, the real hero of this story is Shoshana, right?
Yeah, 100%.
She's the one who kills Hitler. Yeah, she doesn't pull the trigger, but her plan went off flawlessly, whereas theirs gets caught, and they literally need a Nazi to allow them to push through with it, and everything they do is inconsequential.
And what's crazy about this throughout the whole time, which is something that I just realized not too long ago when watching this, is like these two plots to kill Hitler and to kill all these Nazis are two different plots from two different groups that have no idea the other one's going to be going on.
Right.
They have no clue that Shoshana is planning to burn down her fucking...
And she has no idea the bombs are going off.
Yeah, she has no idea that the bastards are in there with bombs wrapped around their legs to take them out as well. So, yeah, it's just a really well-made film and put together...
And that's one of the things I like about the movie is, in classic Tarantino, kind of like Pulp Fiction, you got multiple stories and then they all
converge,
lead up into the end.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. I like when things make my brain work.
But the thing is, and that's where it comes from too. When you think about the film, right? And I won't take credit for this because I've seen pieces of like ideas from this and then have pulled different parts together. But the idea that like the whole film, just like every Tarantino film, is just a film about film, right?
Yeah.
It isn't.
He's just
it
a
isn't
lover
American
of-
soldiers.
yeah.
It isn't the resistance. It isn't Normandy that killed Nazis. It's film that killed the
film that did it,
Nazis,
yeah.
right?
That
and so
video that you sent me, that 20-minute video, really breaks down this movie and how...
Yeah,
like,
I don't know if you guys can add that to the credits or into the description,
link
but you
it,
probably
we can probably
should.
link it. It's because if you're still kind of confused about like the significance of this film and how and what the mindset was behind making it, the video that you sent me really
Encapsulates that idea really well.
very, very well. So
Well, it's the same. I mean, but it's the same reason why like people generally dislike Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because it's also a film about films, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
so whereas
it's
this
literally
this
a
movie
film
is about
an
the
actor in films. Like,
this movie is a film about the power of film and what it can do to a culture, right?
And
Whereas
Once Upon a Time in
Once
Hollywood
Upon a Time in
is-
Hollywood is about the destruction of film being able to do that, because film
To
really
an
can't
individual.
do that anymore
Right, yeah.
like it used to, just because of the different amount of media and these dopamine receptors that we have to look at a 5-second TikTok
Right.
instead of sitting through an actual film. And that idea of like film not being what it once was, shown through DiCaprio's character. Whereas in this film, it's all about like we literally were able to, until recently, been able to wipe Nazism from the face of our community. Right?
Yeah.
Through the power of propaganda. Not saying propaganda is a bad word, but
Right.
through the power of propaganda and the power of being able to come to this collective sense through film, right? And so it's just really interesting because in the film, the film kind of plays the same way. You're so focused on Aldo Rain. You're so focused on the bastards. I mean, it's like we said, they've got the best comments. They've got the best quotes.
they're the most fun to see
Yeah,
on screen, but they're also the
or
most
even Hans Landa
inconsequential.
has like the best quotes in the film, and you feel like they're the central story, but the real central story here is Shoshana's revenge and her literally killing Hitler with lighting film on fire.
So
Like,
to
it's-
debate, the nitrate film.
Yeah.
But to play maybe kind of devil's advocate though, like it would not have gone off without Hans Landa not making that call and not going through and being like, "Hey, this is going on in the theater."
If you go down that rabbit hole, then if anything, the bastards almost fuck up Shoshana's plan. Right. So if anything, the Americans being there, almost reversed the situation
Because they got caught.
Right.
He could have made that phone call to get everyone.
Had
out
they
of there
just
before.
not had the bastards not been in the film at all,
it would have gone off as planned.
yeah, everything would have been
fucking died.
fine,
Yeah.
right? Because the entire central story, you think about it, what consequentially happens in the film that the bastards actually make happen, right? They have no agency. They're trying to do things, but everything they do look at
was gonna say,
Fassbender
everything
getting
gets
fucked up.
fighting in a basement.
Yeah.
Speaking of good quotes,
Yeah,
that's
there's-
Yeah.
You don't need to be a. You don't need
you don't
to
have to be goddamn Stonewall Jackson to know you don't want to be fighting in a basement.
Fucking basement. That's great. Well, to lead into that as well, the quote between the conversation between Bridget von Hammersmark and Aldo Rain after she gets shot. She goes, "I can see, since you didn't see what happened inside, the Nazis being there must look odd." And he's like, "Yeah, we got a word for that kind of odd in English. It's called suspicious." That's and the untrust, the lack of trust between and the hesitancy between Aldo and literally anyone else that he meets and talks to throughout the entire film, shows, and him kind of letting his guard down to go through the plan of pretending to be Italian and going to the actual premiere themselves, because they weren't even supposed to be the ones at the premiere. It was supposed to be Fassbender and
Speaking German.
Yeah, speaking German. Yeah,
Which
A bad
arguably
German.
they still would have fucked up.
Yeah.
Because he was just in the bar with a few German soldiers and one officer,
one of
and,
the
they were
random
already
German-
able to identify
Yeah.
it. So like the bastards' plan was damned and to begin with.
Yeah.
Right? It was just a bad plan.
Right.
Whereas Shoshana's plan, goes off without a hitch.
Would've-
right? Except for the fact that Frederick Zoller shoots her, but at that point it was already done.
Right, yeah, it was
She already had a
motion.
contingency.
Yep. She had the real set to where it would play automatically. Even with her dead, she would have completed her mission.
So it's weird how like not only do we mirror this as like, and again, not to go down like this weird psychological hole of things, but
fucking dig it. Keep
it's
going.
interesting how like we not only does the film talk about how the power of film is able to kill the Nazis long term, right? Destroy the idea of Nazism again until recently. But on top of that, it also mirrors like actually World War II, where like we give Americans credit for winning World War II, and really Europe took care of the problem themselves, right? I mean, we weren't even the majority of D-Day.
Kind of had to step in last minute and take a little bit of claim to something that we didn't do.
Oh, that's the American way, baby.
But no shit.
Absolutely.
It's just interesting because not only does it mirror kind of it's a metaphor for what happened historically, but it's also a metaphor for film,
right?
And the power of film,
yeah.
Right? So it's the film. I think it's credited as like, oh, it's got great dialogue, which it does. Arguably, I would say, I'm making this claim right off the cuff, so I could definitely be wrong, but I would arguably say Inglourious Basterds has the best dialogue of any film I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, it's up there for sure. It's just so brilliantly written. And this was a movie. It's in my trivia, but I'll bring it up now because we're talking about it. But like, this is a movie that was being written for an entire decade before it was made. He was writing this before he made the first Kill Bill.
Well, that's what he says at the end. That this is my masterpiece. That's his. I think this might be my masterpiece. I mean, he's not speaking about the swastika. He's speaking about the film.
Tarantino
right?
talking about his movie,
and that's why it's my favorite. It is his magnum opus, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's great for sure. The only other quote I have, and it's because I use it myself, and I probably shouldn't, but I do. But he's in which this scene is fucking brilliant. When he goes to the farmhouse and finds the Shoshana's family and stuff, and he's having the conversation with the farm owner and everything. But they kill all the Jewish people under the floorboards, and then Shoshana escapes, and he's got the gun pointed at her.
Shoshana.
Yeah, au revoir, Shoshana. Like I love that. It's just,
but here's
his mentality of like, no big deal. I'll find you at some point. I'll get to you at another time. Like,
so I was reading this last night because I was thinking about the film and I had some questions, right? So one of the things I looked up, and I read this on a Reddit post. Can't give it credit because I have no idea where I got it from. So sorry, Redditor. But it's interesting because at the end of the film, she says before they record the revenge film, right? She her boyfriend Marcel, I believe the character's name is. Yeah. Marcel tells her, remember, in English, right? And so she gives the speech in English, and you're thinking, this is really interesting. Why is she giving a revenge message to the Nazis in English, right? Which is really interesting to think about. Not only that, and not to divert, but also, like, if you notice how many lines in Nation's Pride, the film within the film, is in English, right? So that's kind of interesting too. But
I got some
she gives it in English because when she's under the floorboards, they switch to English. So she doesn't know German, but she does recognize that some Germans can speak English. And so, but what's also crazy to think about, that also means that when she was under the floorboards, she understood the conversation
that was being said
and did not warn her family.
Yeah, dude.
What the fuck?
Right?
She knew everything that was being said, and it made no attempt. I mean, it could be like.
I mean, what attempts can you make?
Well, right, but it could be why she escaped. It could be. It could be the reason why she knew what was going to happen.
She was the one who was able to get out.
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, I mean, you could also make the extension. If she knew English, then maybe her family knew English, and that was a decision they made.
Another good point. Yeah, another good point. But yeah, for sure, that's super.
It's really weird when you think about that directorial decision. I mean, you can't have her do it in German because she doesn't know German.
Right.
But that means she does know English.
She doesn't know German?
Well, I was paying attention to this yesterday. At no point in the film does she ever speak German, and not only that, when she's
talking to German
when she's in the lunchroom or in the cafe eating with the other Nazis or whatever, they are speaking German at points, and she has this look of confusion, like she doesn't know what's going on. And then Zoller will actually translate specific things to her, which he translates in French. Speaking of translations in the film, also crazy how like. He has these subtitles at the bottom for things, but then like we'll decide to keep like somebody will say we and the subtitle says we. Yeah. Like why not say yes, right? But it's like interesting because those are words that we all know. So he just decides it's really interesting how he decides to keep it in the language.
I didn't even fucking realize that.
Yeah. Oh, dude, there's so much. There's a few things I have in trivia about like the dialect and the languages that they use throughout the film. But that quote was the last one that I have. Is there any other ones that you want to bring?
I mean, there's 100,000, but I'm sure we'll just run into them as we're talking.
As we're talking about scenes and stuff too. Dylan, any other quotes?
Oh fuck, we're still doing quotes.
I just said my last one. So if you don't have any more, we can move on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to follow your guys' structure.
No, it is. It's just going to be long, which I knew that this one would be a little bit longer.
I
anyway,
love
so
it.
it's not a big deal. Yeah. So let's talk about favorite scenes.
Scene.
Say hello to our favorite scene. And now, our favorite scene.
So it's hard to decide which one is my favorite because there's just so fucking many. But
Maybe it might be best to just say because the whole film is built in scenes, 5 scenes overall.
5 acts.
Which but each one of
Chapters,
those acts, most of those acts consist of basically one scene.
Yeah,
with little pieces interspliced here.
That's a good point.
So, what's the best act of the film?
Yeah, I mean, the second
chapter.
act. I think the second chapter, the second act, is when everything is really coming together, and you see the plans starting to formulate, and also seeing certain parts of the plans falling apart. So they have to scramble and try to make things work. I think is really what, like the rendezvous in the basement.
That's chapter 3, though, isn't it?
Did I say 3?
I think you said 2.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
Chapter 3.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
we're on the same page. Then.
So yeah. The rendezvous in the basement, like that whole scene is so fucking brilliantly filmed. Like from the Nazi general in the background that you don't even know exists really until the end, and he shuts off the fucking recorder and goes over after Willem Wicke, points out that his dialect is so that Fassbender's dialect is so weird that he can't. It might be chapter 4. But yeah, he can't. After the guy who just had the kid, Wilhelm
and his son Maximilian.
But after he points out that Fassbender's accent is fucking strange, he's like, "I'm sorry, I just don't under your dialect. It's taking me kind of catching me off guard." Which this entire scene, other than Fassbender after he broke character, this entire scene is in a completely different language. So it's all in a different language. You don't understand the fact that Fassbender. Well, you do understand it when it gets pointed out. But Fassbender is speaking in a dialect, which it's like if we're talking to somebody from Omaha and then somebody from like way down deep Louisiana with a very Creole accent shows up and starts talking to us. I'm like, wait, what did you say?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like that's what's happening here. And
the American ear, you can't hear it at all, obviously.
Right. Well, when it comes to the German accents and shit, absolutely not. Well, and because it breaks down so much more, like there's mountain regions of Germany that have different dialects and different ways of speaking, and like it's all very different. So if you're a native to Germany, you're going to be able to pick those things up. Just the same as, like I said, if you're a native to the United States and you talk to somebody, deep south that, has a very Creole type accent, you're not going to catch all the things that they say, or it's going to sound weird to you. But that whole rendezvous in the basement is great with him playing the cards. The funny thing is that when the is it a sergeant, the guy who ends up catching him in his mistake.
Yeah, the guy that was in the back room.
Well, it depends because Wilhelm catches him first,
right? But
and
the
then
one that really blows his spot.
He's not a captain because Fassbender's character is a captain, so I think he's a corporal.
Corporal
is what they say.
Okay.
I think they said corporal.
So when the corporal, they're playing the card game, and the card that he gets is King Kong, and when he finally guesses it, what's crazy about that is it's very it's pretty widely known that Hitler's favorite movie was King Kong.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's his favorite film. And that's the reason why it was put in there is the German guy who has such loyalty to Hitler. His favorite film,
really interesting.
He would guess, and he would know that it was King Kong based off the hints that they're getting.
So Tarantino then is also, if that's the case, 'cause I didn't know that trivia, but if that's the case, then Tarantino's also doing this really deep cut to Hitler loving King Kong because it is the story of the American slave trade, the African slave trade, and that's kind of an interesting dig at Nazis.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I was trying to figure he's doing something there as you're watching it, but now that you know that it's Hitler's favorite film. That's
makes sense.
Also, man, now I feel like I don't want to watch King Kong.
You're not missing out much by watching the original King Kong.
I don't like
or
this
the Jack
because
Black.
he likes this. That's fucking.
I know you love Jack Black.
I love Peter Jackson.
Oh, okay.
And Jack Black.
And Jack Black.
And Jack Black.
It was the perfect storm.
It was,
But no,
it was-
I also like that scene in the bar because working at Scola for 6.5 years. I mean, that's what we did at Scola was
go out and.
we used to go to bars and then kill Nazis. No, we
Killing Nazis.
we
used to go fight in a fucking basement.
we packaged foreign language material And,
that's right.
And mainly, our contracts were through the DLI, the Defense Language Institute. And the analogy that I used is like, so someone that doesn't speak English and they're listening or they're trying to have a conversation, how we say like cup of tea, we don't enunciate that whatsoever.
Cup
of tea.
Cup of tea. Yeah,
Cup
we don't
is
say,
2 words.
can we have a
Or 2
cup
syllables.
of tea? But if you're learning it through a textbook, they're not going to teach you that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's, but if you watch like Hollywood movies or TV shows, you're gonna catch on those things. And then most notably, what I liked about working at Scola was learning about little cultural things like the German 3 and the American or the English 3. Like those are
Which
real
is weird
things.
because I actually do 3 with my pinky
Right.
ring
That's the
and
Irish-
middle
that's the
finger.
Irish.
Is that the Irish?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's the Irish way of doing it. Yeah.
When I was watching
Irish,
this.
German, and then American. There's
Or
other
English,
ones
yeah.
too.
Martian. 2 hands.
When I was watching this
Sorry,
with
listener.
Latasha, I was like, hey, so I was like, this is the scene where like they fuck up the 3. And I did it wrong because I thought it was like this, but
No, that's the
like
Nazi.
the okay.
Or that's the American Nazi.
Yeah.
3. Yeah.
The modern age Nazi
Or the circle
3.
game if you're in high school.
you just lost.
I know.
So many
Oh,
people
God.
just lost.
All my friends who listen to this that play the game are now gonna be fucking pissed.
Yeah.
But yeah, that scene is fucking great. I guess that act.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with you.
chapter.
That chapter is probably the best chapter in the film.
It's great.
Again, really interesting that it's Sans Soshana, right? And Sans Jew Hunter, right? Like
Yeah.
arguably like the two characters that bring down the Third Reich aren't in that scene at all.
Yep.
Right? And yet it's the most entertaining, and obviously I think that's kind of pulling us back to that argument.
And another one of my, and it's not really a full scene. It's more of just an image that I liked. But it's so when she starts burning down the theater, like the fire.
I know
is
exactly what
going,
you're talking about. I know exactly what you're about to say.
And like her face
in the smoke.
Like it's
can
all
see her face
distorted,
laughing in
and
the
she's
smoke of
laughing, and
of the burning
It's a good scene.
of the burning Nazis.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she is
And-
laughing in the smoke of
Yeah,
the
it's very
the
Wizard
flesh
of Oz.
the burning
Yes,
the burning
that's
Nazi.
exactly
it's so
what it
fucking
is.
great. Yeah.
And like I immediately started thinking, like, holy fuck, I want to get a fog machine in my theater and like see if I can't fucking get some cool shit going on, like
Some
because it'll
ghosts.
reflect the fucking light. I don't know.
I mean, it's
cool.
another thing with
Never
another-
seen it before.
It's another nod to cinema, which is what this movie is full of it. But it's projecting on something other than the actual screen of the cinema, and it's projecting her laughter of killing the Nazis upon the smoke of the burning Nazi
Yeah.
bodies. Like it's
Well,
very
it pulls
symbolic.
pulls away that separation of the screen, right? Because now she's literally in the room.
Right.
Yeah, I mean she's
It's her
incorporeal,
face
but she's
above
in the
them.
room.
Yeah.
They're choking on her.
Right.
Right. But I mean, if you like, obviously the whole film, it's just great scene after great scene. There's really not a bad scene in this film. But I like your idea of images, right? And so arguably right before that, I think one of the best images, best moments of cinematography, is as Soshana is getting ready. And the putting out fire
Putting
with
out fire
gasoline,
with
right?
gasoline, yeah.
But
Yeah.
specifically, there's a moment where she's standing there in the red dress,
by the
Nazi
window.
flags behind her. You have the lighting just right to where it contours her face really well.
Yeah.
It's very 1940s femme fatale,
Yes.
right?
And beautiful.
It's
Absolutely
and
gorgeous.
I mean, she just fits that
when
idea.
she pulls down the black
Yeah.
veil, like in front.
But
of
what's
her
interesting
face.
is we flip it, right? Because, like, I mean, if you watch that moment without context, she is a Nazi femme fatale.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
And it's with
Given
the
the
it's with the
imagery in the
context that
actual-
like you can now be like, okay, now this image is kind of hot, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
without the
Down with
context, it's like,
Hitler.
oh,
Yeah.
damn, it's a Nazi woman. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting how just the context of the film can create such a different meaning with just an image, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
At talking about like images and about different small snippets, like which I think that's what we'll have to do for the scenes. It's just because talking about whole entire scenes,
There's
just
too
so
much.
Many, you
It's all
can't break
quote.
it down. But the sound of the bear Jew hitting his fucking bat in the
Yeah.
tunnel. Just hitting it and walking out, and then the first appearance of him and just bludgeoning that Nazi is something that I'll never get out of my head. And I'll always hear, if I hear wood hitting on something and it echoes, the first thing that comes to my fucking mind is him walking through the alley or through the tunnel.
Well,
with
he's
his
playing
bat
the
just-
spaghetti western music
Yep,
coming through the tunnel. Yeah.
But
But here, what's interesting with that scene specifically, though, is that that arguably is one of my favorite scenes overall. That entire moment.
Yeah.
But there's one line in there that ruins the whole scene for me, and it's my least favorite part of the film.
baseball.
It's 2 hits, me hitting you, you hitting the
Yeah,
ground. I'm like, God
yeah.
damn it, Donnie Donowitz. That's some childish bullshit.
It's not Donnie.
Like,
That is
you
not
sound
Donnie
like my
Donowitz.
dad.
That is Eli Roth. That is 100% Eli Roth.
But it's such a
pretty
like
sure an improv line. Like
that's fine if it's improv, but it's just my issue with it is it's such a
Cliche.
it's a cliche improvisation, right? Like it's like, oh man, you're literally the coolest dude, and now you're like
now a fucking
that's like saying booyah, baby.
Well, so in The Dark Knight, which is arguably one of the in my opinion is very close to a perfect film. The Dark Knight, there's one single line, and it's when they catch Lau, and he's the crooked cop that he's got the back of his head, and he's putting him in the car. He's like, "Have a nice trip. See you next fall."
I know, and
puts
you're
him in
like,
the car. I'm like, "Ah, damn it!
bad
I'm like,
writing,
oh, it was
bad
so
writing,
epic, and you
bad
fucked
writing."
it up. God damn it!
Yep. Nope. Nothing can be perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And this movie, as much as I love it, is far from perfect.
Oh yeah, there's still, and it's why when we get to the ratings of it, we can discuss that. But yeah, so is there any other images, scenes? Small
Honestly,
parts
I
that
gotta
you'd
say,
like to
chapter
bring up?
1 is so good.
I just
it's
love the scene of them in the him slow, like the farm hands, the farm owner slowly realizing that he's caught, slowly realizing that he as time goes on. At the beginning, it's like, oh, he's just here having a cup of my milk, and we're going to smoke a pipe together. And then slowly it starts to turn into like, oh, he's here looking for something.
It's what this movie does so
he
beautifully
knows.
is it builds tension through
And
dialogue.
then it just fucking explodes.
Yeah.
The same feeling, and it's kind of like an answer or like a response to the opening scene with the Jew hunter, with the dairy farmer and the family, is when Shoshana is at the restaurant, and then the Jew hunter comes in, and he excuses everyone else because
he knows.
He
knows.
He has
knows.
to. He has
Yeah.
to know.
I
He
mean,
knows
and-
everything the whole time.
Yep.
And even if he
This is
doesn't-
all one long ploy for him from the beginning.
right, and even if he doesn't know, because it doesn't come out and say that he
No,
knows
with how he acts
but
and how he
even
says
if
things,
he
he
But he
doesn't,
makes her wait for the cream. He makes her wait for the cream.
Exactly.
He's milk obsessed.
Yep.
Right?
Milk for her, and he doesn't even think about it. Like he knows.
He knows what he's
get a
doing.
milk for her.
He doesn't
Right.
order. He drinks whiskey with Aldo.
Yeah.
Right. But he drinks
Milk with the dairy farmer
with
and
her.
yeah.
He
Right.
knows who she is.
Right.
100%.
But even if he doesn't, like in a hypothetical situation, Tarantino comes out and says, "Yeah, I know it was just a ploy," but the fact that he makes you think that, at the very least, he has you question, like, oh fuck, does he know?
Does she know?
Because
Like-
she knows, and then the fucking tension
Oh,
back
yeah.
and forth.
Well, dude, and nothing brings out the tension more than when it ends and he walks away, and all of her emotions come flooding out of her body all at once. It's just
And I'm glad you brought that up.
Like,
because
just-
that is the
dude.
scene earlier when I said her best moment is that moment.
100%.
That emotion
keeps
finally
a
comes
straight
out of her.
face as much as she can, because
Yeah.
you can still tell she's kind of nervous throughout the whole time.
Yeah.
But she
That's
keeps a
the
straight
moment where I
face
was like,
and-
she sold me on this character.
Yep, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
but you're
another
right.
great
That was,
scene.
I mean, that was the wait for the cream.
Yeah.
Like that's when my heart rate started
Yeah.
going, fuck.
Yep.
He knows.
But he lets her go. Everything
Yeah.
he does is calculated. But it's great because he still gets his comeuppance in the end.
Yeah.
Right? But, I mean, he does, like, not only that. So, man, now I'm thinking, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
dude.
film destroys the Nazis or whatever, but if he knew who she was,
He knew what was
would have
gonna
known
happen.
there was
He-
a ploy
Yeah.
separate from Aldo Rain.
Yep.
And he lets it happen.
Yep.
Right? So it's just really interesting to think
I
about.
think
And maybe
his
that's why he
mentality-
lets Aldo go, because he knows even if he catches him, even if he stops him, that's still going to happen because somebody else got something going on and he doesn't know exactly what it is. Right?
So hear this theory out. So from the beginning, he mentions and hits on that he doesn't like his nickname as the Jew hunter.
The Jew
Oh,
hunter.
I think he loves his
No, I think he loves
So
it.
hear me out. So,
I think
so,
that was just a ploy so he could say tiny man.
So, so throughout the movie, he hints on that nickname being given to him and that he didn't choose it. And in fact, he isn't the biggest fan of it. He's just a detective. I feel like he knows throughout this entire time that what he's doing for the Nazis is not a moral thing that should be done, and has had in his mind this entire time, at least from when Shoshana escapes, that this is going to be something that he's going to try to play a part or is going to try to do something to be able to end this and make himself look like the hero.
See, I don't know if I agree with the morality sense. I think he does know that what he's doing is not sustainable.
Right.
I don't think that he.
And maybe
I don't think he
morality
cares
is the wrong thing
because he does like the name
killing
Jew Hunter. He tells the guy like when he first introduces himself, he's like, "Have you heard what they go by?" And he's like talking to the dairy farmer, like he's like wants him to say you're the Jew Hunter because he loves the name, and he even says I rather like the name that they've given me, right? And he talks about that piece, but more importantly, I don't think it's about morality for him
I
at
don't
all.
think it's about morality.
I think what it is
that he likes
he-
the nickname.
I think he sees a way out, and he's more narcissistic and is only thinking about himself.
He's a Nazi out of convenience.
Yeah.
Right. But I think if the same thing were happening, if it was Americans hunting down Germans, he would be doing that. Right. So I don't think it's about.
'cause-
I don't
'cause
think it's
he's
about
like-
the perfect human race for him. It's about personal advancement.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And he sees shit's hitting the fan. Germany's losing. They talk throughout the film that D-Day's coming up. They've hit the beaches. Hitler tells us they've hit the beaches by the time the film ends. He knows Germany's going to lose the war, and now he needs to escape.
He needs to
route.
out for himself.
Not only
Okay,
that,
that's
but he
fair.
can also can hold on to his social
rank.
status
Yeah. Yeah.
through the deal that he makes.
Right. Yeah,
right?
because
He's a
he-
piece of shit.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
That's what he is.
Yeah, and if it came across as me saying like, "Oh, like I feel like this guy is actual,
Let's defend the
Yeah,
let's
actually,
defend
I
the
thought
Jew
that's-
hunter.
If
I
it was
thought you were
coming-
trying to
no,
salvage
no.
or
If it
fucking-
was coming across as me saying that, like, oh, I think this guy is an actual moral standing person, like that is not the case. That's not what I'm saying. But I feel like
So if
he
there's
knows.
one thing we
So
learned-
I feel like he knows throughout the time that what he is doing is being viewed as something that is horrible by everyone else. Does that change why he does it? No. Does that change the fact that he does it anyway? No. But I feel like he knows that he is viewed by the rest of the world as somebody who's playing a hand in the mass genocide that's being done, and has to plan something to try to get himself out of the punishment and the war crimes that
Well,
he's
yeah, that's-
committing
that's
by
for
the end
sure.
of this. Is more what I was getting
He's a
across,
snake.
and more
Right.
that he knew in the back of his mind that this is, like you said, not sustainable. It's not something that he's going to be able to do as what he likes to call himself as a detective for the rest of his life.
Right.
It's going to be something that he's going to need to find a way out to get himself on the cleaner end of things when it's all said and done. So in no way was I saying that no, he's actually
Listen
a good
here,
guy.
listener.
Bro, he's an actual really good guy. No, that's
If I agree to not believe that you're a Nazi sympathizer, will you believe that I don't hate Brad Pitt?
Oh,
you're
first off,
pushing it.
I don't think those two should be equated.
You're
I want to
pushing
make
it.
that really clear. Like that's not an even trade.
But yeah, Don't agree to that.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, for scenes wise, like we said, go see the movie. Go watch the movie. It's 100% worth it. Why don't we jump into the trivia?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay. I will trigger you into this podcast. Let's jump into trivia.
Can I ask one question
Yeah.
for trivia? Because I have no credit for it. I don't know where I heard it from,
Mm-hmm.
but I am spewing it out like it's fact. And I just
Hitler
need
was
to-
not murdered in a cinema, just so you know, in
Yeah.
real
Okay.
life.
He didn't die that way.
He killed himself.
Well, I had two questions then. So first question,
Mountain climbing accident.
the one that I've been spewing, and I will continue to spew it because I like it and it fits my
Narrative?
Yeah, it fits my narrative with what I believe is entertainment. Was Adam Sandler
Yes.
okay? all
Adam
right.
Sandler was in this film?
No, but
He was gonna
up
be-
for a role. I'll get to it.
Oh,
right.
he had
I'll
to be
get
the
to it.
Jew Hunter or the Donnie Donowitz.
Yes.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, that
so-
would have been a good role.
It would have
So-
been good for him because one, he's very Jewish,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he likes to. He's really outspoken about it, which is great. And it would have been a fantastic role for him, given that he's now starting to go towards more serious roles. I think it would have been fucking great. I think it would have been fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, having someone like Michael Fassbender, and then also having Mike Myers in the movie as well.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah. No,
and
you're,
then the
you're,
other
you're
question
absolutely right.
is, I mean, how much of this movie is based in
Reality?
historical fact?
Very little.
Okay.
Very,
all
very
right.
I mean, the
So it's
Nazis
kind
were
of like-
real.
yeah. So the Nazis.
Yeah.
The Holocaust happened.
So
I
like,
want to make that really
because
clear.
Once upon
Yeah,
a
let's
time,
be-
because
let's
once
be
upon a
very
time in
straightforward.
Hollywood, there is some fact to that.
But it's also there's some fact to the people that existed, but it's also completely bogus about how everything turned out.
Well, like
So the
Hitler
actual
existed,
events-
Goebbels existed. Who are the other two? Hammond. The other one they're trying to kill. I can't remember. Goring. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they all those historical figures
all
existed,
historical
just
figures.
like Manson existed, just like Polanski existed.
yeah.
But what happens?
The
It's an
events
alternative.
that took
It's
place.
alternative history.
Yeah, which is
Which is a
Tarantino
scary term, and I
given
don't like that I
today's
just use
climate.
that.
Yeah.
But no, I like stories like that.
Alternative
I mean, those
facts.
are my favorite fucking like comic books. The Elseworlds, like what would happen if instead of Superman landing in the middle of a corn or a wheat field in Kansas, what if he landed in Russia? And
Dude,
he was
have you
brought
watched
up as a Russian fucking soldier.
Have you watched What If on Disney Plus?
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, that is
I love,
exactly what that
and
is.
And that's what if. What if is the Marvel version of
that.
DC
Yeah.
Elseworlds.
Right. Yeah, it's-
there's another one of my top fucking favorite Elseworlds is called Gotham by Gaslight, and it's basically Batman being a detective trying to find out who the what the fuck's the serial killer in London.
Jack the Ripper.
Jack the Ripper. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I've heard of that.
I was.
I've
wanting to
heard that,
say-
and there's an
Yeah.
old comic book of Jack the Ripper Batman crossover, just like there's a Batman Dracula crossover, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I wanted to say Night Stalker, but
Yeah.
I knew that
But
was.
yeah, and I mean, it's the same. We discussed it a little bit ago with Watchmen. Is like the idea of like, okay, Dr. Manhattan is an actual fucking like extraterrestrial being, you know, all powerful being. Like, what if this is how the war went down and how the nukes were? Like it.
Yeah.
I love that. I love when movies do that.
But what's great about Bastards is that like it is alternative history, right? Again, hate that term. That's just the term that comes to mind.
Yeah.
But it is an alternative history of it's a what if story, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not, right? Because it
I mean,
is
the end
it is
result is the
metaphorically
same.
it is metaphorically what happened
Yeah.
in World War II.
The end result is the same.
Just it's the true story of history of film history just being displayed to where it can be more tangible,
Yeah.
right, and you can see it happening on screen.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, let's with Dylan and his Adam Sandler trivia. You took away one of them, but that's I'm glad that you knew that because you usually don't come in with trivia. So I'm glad that you had that one.
Thank you.
Loaded up. That's
And
good.
I was scared that it wasn't going to be real, and that I was
you're
going
right.
to have to like call everyone like
Hey,
I
sorry, Adam
made out
Sandler
with
wasn't
them.
actually
Like
up
I
for
made
a
out
role.
with them and I have herpes or something.
The good thing
Be
is-
like, hey, so it turns out Adam Sandler had nothing to do with it.
They're like, now I have to go get tested. Thank
It's a
you so
cold
much.
sore.
and then all
Adam
of
Sandler's a cold sore of Inglourious
and then
Basterds.
anything I ever tell them has no
They're
credibility.
not going to believe you.
Man, you are way overthinking this, but
Right. So for the first bit of trivia here, Quentin Tarantino was considering abandoning the film while the casting searched for someone to play Colonel Hans Landa.
and they found the perfect.
Yeah, fearing he'd written a role that was unplayable. After Christoph Waltz audition, however, both Tarantino and the producer Lawrence Bender agreed they'd found the perfect actor for the role, which paid off, you know, in a big way. The only movie Brad Pitt made as a leading actor for the Weinstein Company or its previous iteration, Miramax. He has said that it has everything to do with wanting to work with Quentin Tarantino and nothing to do with Harvey Weinstein. His animosity for Weinstein stems from an incident in the 90s where Pitt physically threatened the producer upon learning about Weinstein's unwanted sexual harassment of his then-girlfriend, Gwyneth
Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow. Quentin Balthrow?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Yeah.
Quentin Balthrow.
Got Tarantino on the mind.
Alternative history.
I'm going to coin that for this podcast now. No, I'm not.
No,
'cause
please
that's
don't.
Disgusting. Quentin Tarantino worked on this script for almost a decade. Like I said before he had finished Kill Bill, before he'd even started Kill Bill, he was working on Bastards. Roughly only 30. This is the language the language part that I was telling you about earlier. So roughly only 30% of this film is spoken in English. The language.
Go ahead.
The language which dominates this film is either French or German, with a little bit of Italian thrown in there by at the end, you know. But it says this is highly unusual for a Hollywood production, and the only movie that has done this that has had an Academy Award won for it. So
Parasite.
yeah, that's true.
But
Yeah,
that wasn't an American film.
That and I think Parasite's only one language throughout.
Yeah.
Like this is
Well-
English, German, French, and Italian.
What's really interesting about the language piece is that I won't lie to you. I'm a terrible person, and I sometimes watch movies in my car on my way to work.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I can watch the road because like I'm just listening to the dialogue.
Yeah.
You know, couldn't do that with this film. I got through the first scene where he's talking with Hans Lander, and
you about
then
crashed.
no, I got through the second because the first chapter I watched at home, and then I got in the car, watched the Brad Pitt introduction piece, and then the third one when it switches back over heavily to German and French. I was driving and I was like, "There's no point in me doing
like,
this."
I don't
was
understand
like,
what the fuck they're saying
and
right
I
now.
kept wanting
Yeah.
to read the subtitles. And I'm like, I'm gonna end up killing myself. So I abandoned that and sat and did not drive while watching a movie.
Good,
So
good.
thanks. I saved some lives that day.
Yeah, you did. So this is this is Quentin Tarantino's first film to win an Oscar for acting. Christoph Waltz for Best Actor in a Supporting Role. Christoph Waltz also won an Oscar for Tarantino's Django Unchained, which is another performance that was just fucking phenomenal.
And a wildly different character.
Oh, the exact opposite type
Yeah.
character.
And I think that really
a
showed
compassionate,
Waltz's-
loving, heartfelt, very socially accepting of all
Everybody.
other races,
Yeah.
and
I think that definitely like
his range.
that. I think him working with Tarantino for those two films solidified him as like one of the great
As
actors.
one of the-
Yeah.
Right,
one of-
because
one of
that
the great
showed a
actors of our
huge range for him, and then he gets stuck doing Spectre. Poor
Well,
guy.
did you see him in Horrible Bosses too?
No.
Yeah,
I never
another
watched
really
Horrible
good
Bosses
role
too.
from he's
Water
this,
for Elephants. He was in that.
I haven't seen that.
Really good. Well, book's really good. Film's kind of sucks. Says that Robert Pattinson though, and Reese Witherspoon.
Still not sold on Robert Pattinson.
Reese without
He was great
her
in
spoon.
Lighthouse. And he
Reese
was
without her
fine in
spoon.
Batman, but anyway. So in a roundtable discussion with Brad Pitt and Quentin Tarantino said Till Schweiger, Hugo Stieglitz, had previously refused to put on a Nazi uniform for the film for the role.
Good for him.
Largely due to being born and raised in Germany and his real hatred for anything Nazi related. When Schweiger was told he'd be brutally killing Nazis in every scene that he wore the Nazi uniform in, he gladly agreed to play the part of Hugo
Okay.
Stieglitz.
Oh, I like him.
Yeah, no, he's awesome. One of the Jewish names carved in the bat of the Bear Jew is Anne Frank. If you go
One of the
back-
what?
One of the Jewish names carved in the Bear Jew's bat is Anne Frank.
Why? What were the names carved in the bat? Were those
I
like
didn't
just
even
other
notice
people
there
that
were
he
names.
knew that had died?
Other family members that he knew that he knew that had been
okay.
killed. But Anne Frank was one of them. Which they can't be related.
Well,
Because
obviously, he's fictional.
Well, that and I'm talking. Shut up! I'm talking movie wise because he's American and that's not how that went down. But
Well,
yeah,
I mean, you could be related to people in other countries.
Yeah, but that's not okay. Fuck you. Quentin Tarantino's highest grossing film since Pulp Fiction. Made a lot of money. We talked about that earlier. Did
When
really
did
well.
Hateful Eight came out after this? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, like it was significantly after this.
It was
Was
a
it?
yeah.
I think like Hateful Eight was
When
like
did Django
2015, maybe.
Yeah.
When did Django come out?
I think.
2013 maybe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let me
Okay.
see.
My timeline's all fucked up.
Yeah.
Django Unchained was 2012. Hateful Eight was 2015.
Okay.
Huh.
This was
Okay.
2009.
So every 3 years,
Yep. That's what it sounds
except for
like.
we've been in a dry spell.
No, because
Oh, I guess Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was
Yeah.
rather recent, wasn't it?
I think that's his
Once
most
Upon
recent
a Time
one.
in Hollywood was 2019. So 4 years after. After
He's only got
Hateful
one
Eight.
more film left,
Yep, he said he's quitting after.
and he
his
might
last
not
one.
even do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because isn't he consolidating Kill Bill into one movie?
Well,
No.
he's supposed to do 10 films.
Yeah, and he's
And
on his
he
Once
said
Upon a Time was 9.
Number 9. But there's a lot of people are thinking that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is actually going to be his last film because it is basically saying goodbye to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Right.
saying goodbye to film as it
what's
once
his-
was.
as-
And that's why Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's so good and people don't realize how
Right.
good that film is because it might be Tarantino's
Last film
goodbye
without
without
us
telling you
knowing.
goodbye.
Yeah. Because what's DiCaprio's character's name?
Oh god, I don't know.
But yeah, I mean throughout
Jack
the entire.
Dawson.
I think that might.
No, that's Titanic, bro.
Is it really?
Yeah. I'm fucking with you.
It's Jack something. It's not Jack.
No, it's Richard or it starts with an R.
It is
Sorry about-
Rick Booth.
Rick Booth, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't
Damn.
show that I caught that before I actually looked it up.
Rick Dalton.
Leonardo DiCaprio was the first choice for Colonel Hans Landa, which I'm glad they went a different direction. Quentin Tarantino then decided that a German-speaking actor should play the part. DiCaprio played the primary antagonist in Tarantino's next film, in Django, in 2012, which is I love that movie so much. It's such a good movie. I can't I can't get together with you without saying something about The Office.
I know.
It's so
I know.
BJ
It's a
Novak had to
curse.
take leave from appearing on The Office in order to play the private first class Udovich.
Really?
His absence on the show.
Is
you
that
know-
why he went and became corporate? Because that would have
No.
been 2009.
No. His absence
Oh,
on the
damn,
show was
sorry.
explained by the character going to Thailand with friends from high school.
Oh, after he gets fired from corporate.
Yep,
yeah.
yep,
Oh,
well, after
okay.
that, yep.
Yeah. I've never been to
See,
Thailand.
I was like, I gotta-
and that's funny because it builds in with the joke. He's like, I've never been to Thailand.
Right.
Yeah, I did have
Latasha-
Thai food. Oh, I love Thai food. You've never
had
had
pad
Thai.
thai.
You've never had pad Thai.
Latasha has never seen The Office.
I can't talk to her anymore.
Only seen the memes. So feel free to call her out now and
Yeah.
say you should
Yeah,
watch The
Latasha,
Office.
go back and watch The Office. It's fantastic. If you've ever worked in an office and you haven't seen it, you're missing out.
I'm sorry if
Even
this
if
is
you
actually
haven't.
this is
She's
actually a
never
voice
worked in
to
an office,
anybody
but-
ever that's listening to this in any world or universe or time. If you're living, go watch The Office.
Yeah, if you've
'cause-
ever taken a breath, go
yeah,
watch The Office.
Yeah, or stop breathing. Choose.
Yeah.
Choose now.
Your choice.
Yeah.
You have 5 seconds. So Quentin Tarantino intended for this to be as much of a war film as a spaghetti western and considered titling the movie Once Upon a Time in Nazi-occupied France, which he then gave the title instead to the
Chapter
first
1.
chapter in the film. I think we discussed that a little bit ago too. When asked how he got into the violent baseball bat wielding mindset of the Bear Jew, Eli Roth partially attributed his performance to the historically accurate costumes, quoting, "In being in wool underwear will make you want to beat the hell out of anything." He also stated in a separate interview that his girlfriend had secretly added some Hannah Montana music to his iPod, where when he listened to it, it inexplicably made him able to tap into the violent nature of the Bear Jew. Shout out to Hannah Montana.
It's party in the USA.
It's a party in Germany. This was Tarantino's film with the most Academy Award nominations, 8 until Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came up, which earned 10 nominations and won 2 awards for it. This is crazy. Simon Pegg was originally set to play Lieutenant Archie Hickox, which I love Simon Pegg, but Michael Fassbender is far superior. But he was forced to pull out because the project was with scheduling conflicts with Adventures of Tintin in 2011.
Well, you missed the ship on that one there,
up
Mr.
there,
You made a
Pegg.
great decision.
Yeah.
Like Dylan said previously, Quentin Tarantino approached Adam Sandler to play Sergeant Donnie Donowitz, but Sandler turned down the role because of scheduling conflicts with the filming of the movie Funny People, which is a really good movie.
Oh,
If
you know
haven't
what? That
seen
one I'll
Funny
give him.
People-
I'll give him Funny
Yeah,
People. That
yeah.
movie doesn't get enough credit either.
100%. If you haven't seen Funny People, that's a really, really good movie, especially if you like comedy. And
But it's
stand-up
funny because you
comedy.
said earlier, you're like, oh, had Adam Sandler done this and he's going to more serious roles? Well, that was like one of his big breakout serious roles,
It
if you,
was.
if you don't consider Punch Drunk Love or Spanglish, right?
Yeah, well, and then
I haven't
Uncut
seen
Gems.
Funny People.
I
really
think
good.
Uncut Gems was his first like really breakout.
There, yeah. Uncut Gems was the
Serious
first
role.
film where it was like there is
There's
no
no
comedy,
comedy, yeah.
right? But like Funny People is a very
It's
serious
still
role
very
that he's playing.
dark, serious.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
not. It's not a funny film,
No, it's not.
Um,
Even though it's there are funny parts, but it is based around.
but it's
a guy
stand-up
who-
comedy funny.
Yeah, it's based around a guy who has cancer and is dying and is trying to get his assets in order because his cancer is taking over his body.
Sounds like
it's-
another episode.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, for sure. I love that movie. An early iteration of the project, when Quentin Tarantino first conceived the ideas, was rumored to include. This is so fucking weird. Was rumored to include Sylvester Stallone as Aldo Rain. Actually, that might not be bad. Bruce Willis as Donnie Donowitz and Arnold Schwarzenegger as Hugo Stiglitz.
Well, if you'd been writing it for 10 years, if you would have taken that
Back
back
in the
10 in
day,
1999,
yeah.
that would have been a great cast.
it would have been stacked. Last bit of-
2009, Brad
Yeah.
Pitt hits it.
Yeah, last bit of trivia here is ranked among the top 10 of 1001 movies you must see before you die. There's a
It's in the top 10?
top 10 of 1001 movies to see before you
Wow.
die. Yeah. Yep. One
What's
that
I wonder what number 1 is, but that's a different conversation.
I probably like Godfather what's the name?
Probably Tintin.
Yeah, Funny People. So a little bit of trivia that I haven't done in a long time is the kill count. How many people died in this movie? How many people were killed
Oh,
in this
God.
movie? So, Dylan,
Yeah.
how many people were killed in this movie? What's the kill count?
Oh,
What do you think the kill count is?
Oh, fuck. Well,
You have to think of an entire auditorium.
right. And she said how many people it fits too, and I'm trying to remember what she
Did
said.
she? It was like 1,200, was it? Or I don't remember what many. 500? I don't.
Because that was one of the things. It's like, oh, well, they're gonna change the venue for the premiere, and well, how many seats does yours
Yeah.
fit? How many whatever like booths does it have?
Right.
All right, kill count 500.
Okay.
23.
Okay.
What's the numbers?
Paul?
I gotta go with. I'm gonna take 524, Bob.
I'm going to say 1. So the final kill count for this movie was 396.
Damn. One got it.
396.
You know what? I was thinking like 350, but then I was like, nah. I feel like there was more than that in the theater.
When I read the actual kill count, I was like, that's really low. But then it goes, the videos I watch where I get this from, they go through every death and they count and tally up all the deaths, and they'll do it in a short track of the movie. So yeah, that's the kill count. 396 people, mainly Nazis, killed in this
Right.
movie.
I wonder if they're counting the ones in the movie.
in the theater.
Oh,
Yeah.
in Nation's Pride.
And because they're not actually dying.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't count them.
Yeah, probably not. Also, another fun fact that I forgot to put in here that I should have.
It's a movie within a movie.
It is a movie within a movie.
Inception.
And the reason why I didn't, I wanted to bring it up is because it had to be filmed as well, because it was on an actual set that he's in a tower. Like, it had to be filmed as an actual movie as well. Quentin Tarantino didn't have time to do it and let Eli Roth film the entirety of Nation's Pride, and it ended up being like a 45-minute like movie that he filmed about it.
Eli Roth has other directorial credits, right?
The Hostel.
That's really scary if
slasher
you've got a
films.
small amount and the one
he's
non-slasher
done
film
a
you
lot.
do is a Nazi propaganda film,
he's
even
done-
if it was. You know?
That's fair. He's done a lot. He's
I know.
he's known for his horror movies, but
He's
like,
in the first season of American Horror Story.
He is
That's
not.
right.
He's not.
No.
Is that not him?
I looked this shit
The
up.
baby needs some colostrum scene.
So he did
yeah,
Green
no,
Inferno.
it's-
He did
it's not him.
Hostel,
Oh.
Cabin Fever, Hostel.
Oh, it's the guy who
2.
plays Spock.
Zachary Quinto.
Yeah, the guy who plays Spock.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And I
They look
looked
really
this up.
similar.
They do
yeah,
look a bit
Zachary
similar,
Quinto and Eli Roth, they are not related.
Yeah, they do look similar though.
Oh, because they're
I-
from different countries.
Right? I don't know.
No, I'm throwing shade at Tyler again. You can't be
you.
related to people from different countries.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember when he thought that.
That's called a callback.
God, fucking hate you.
But my girlfriend is really into American Horror Story.
I
And
love He hates American
I hate
Horror Story.
American Horror
love
Story.
American
I like the
Horror
first
Story.
season.
I liked it
first
up
season's good.
until like the last 2 seasons.
I stopped watching the Covenant one, and that's where I was like, all right, there's too many plot lines going on here.
Yep.
Pick a lane.
So yeah, that's kill count. That's what I got for the trivia. Why don't we
Sweet.
talk about rankings and get the fuck out of here?
Okay.
You go ahead.
Rank.
1
rate.
out of 10. 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10? Like what I think or what somebody else, like officially, like IMDb's or something?
No,
Is it
no,
like
yeah,
my opinion?
your opinion. Your
Okay, well,
ranking
I'm a
of
pretty
this
harsh
film.
critic, and keep in mind this is in probably my top 5 films of my personal favorite films, but I try to be objective. I'm gonna give it a 7, 6.5 even.
Reasoning.
Reasoning, I definitely feel like they're like again. I'm gonna say this is a top type film
Top
for
5.
me.
Yeah.
For me, I love it. Right.
Yeah.
That being said, I know there are films that have better artistic qualities. I think getting above a 5 is something to be happy about, but I think we're too quick to throw like 9s and 10s at things, right? Like you got to think a 10 is like perfect,
Yeah.
the perfect film.
I've never given out a 10. in
So
this.
I think I'm going to be
like-
generous and give it a 7, even though I'll reiterate it's a top film. Oh my God, it's a top 5 film in my life personally, but from an objective standpoint, probably a 7.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Dylan.
for me, 8.1.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie.
I'm a harsh critic.
And you'd never seen this before.
No, I've seen it.
Oh, you had?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I've seen all of the Tarantino films.
All the Tarantino joints.
I was gonna say Milms, movies, films, Milms.
We knew it.
MILFs.
But and here's one of the
Tarantino
things that,
Milfs.
and I do this sometimes for episodes, is like I try to tell people like, oh, it's streaming on Netflix, and then which kind of led into I mean, would you buy this movie? Would you just rent this movie? And I bought this movie.
This is a movie I own.
I couldn't-
I own
I
it
couldn't-
digitally and physically.
I was going
It
to say I have a
wasn't- it
physical
wasn't-
and a digital copy
yeah,
of this.
it
film.
wasn't streaming anywhere.
Yeah.
I got to hit you up on
and-
PayPal for that.
was worth buying.
I mean, it's fine. I bought the movie because
Okay.
I wanted to buy the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to like buy me a Red Bull next time you come
I
down.
got you, dog.
For Fight Club. That and oh, whoops. Ooh, did I just
Spoiler alert.
spoiler?
You know we
the
don't talk
next
about that.
movie.
We don't talk about that.
But no. I ended up buying. It was a 3-pack that iTunes, Apple's TV store was having. It was the Hateful Eight.
Dude, we
Django
have to
and-
discuss Hateful Eight at some point too.
Yeah.
I fucking that movie is almost tied with Inglourious Basterds with me on my favorite Tarantino films. I love that movie
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
And
Overrated.
and fuck you. And with Netflix, Tarantino did something that he said he would never do because of how
know.
much he loved that movie.
Yep.
He came out with a 4-part, 1 hour each, unreleased cut of Hateful Eight.
Which
It's
is
so
why
fucking great.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is his goodbye
You
song.
think so?
It's his swan song. I'm calling it now.
Okay.
He's done, and I think that Hateful Eight releasing it on Netflix was when he realized, well, I just broke all my rules.
I'm gonna take the money and
He
run.
said movies are dead, and walked away.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a bummer.
I'm calling it. I don't think we ever see another Tarantino film.
We'll see.
I could be wrong.
I hope you're wrong.
You know
but-
what? When
but I
they
could
make another film,
definitely-
I'll come in for that episode and then
Perfect.
say I was wrong.
and then apologize.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, but
It's
here's the
your
cool
statement.
thing is that it's 2023. We have a little thing called artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
I
You can be
mean,
like, make me a
you just-
movie, but make me a movie in the style of Quentin Tarantino about.
and you could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, and you
And
could take everything
That's why I won't
he's
have a
ever
job
done.
as an English teacher much longer.
Yeah.
But keep bringing it up.
I
Tear
mean,
rolls down Paul's cheek.
right? I mean, but you could take like interviews he's done and articles that he's written.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, take everything.
His screenplays. Yeah.
And create artifice. What's your number?
Yeah, so not like anyone gives a fuck, but so I initially when I got so excited when I first watched this again then I knew that we were covering it because I wanted to do it for so long. I was like, oh, this is gonna be like mid to high 9s for me. And then going back and watching it, I'm like, okay, there's things that I would have done differently, and there's scenes that I would have liked to play out differently. So like I'm giving it an 8.5, which is still the highest out of the three of us. I don't give above 9s very often, and I've never given a 10. But this is as close to 9, I think, for a movie that I enjoy, because I'm going based off of how much I enjoy this movie, and it's a top favorite movie for me. So I mean, yeah, 8.5 is what I'll give it. I think the symbolism behind it, with me being huge into cinema and huge into movies, I think the symbolism behind, cinema bringing down the Nazi regime is fucking a cool, interesting concept. I like Tarantino. I like the violence in his films. It hit almost every note that I enjoy about Tarantino films. For me, the only reason I didn't give it a higher, and we touched on this a little bit ago, the only reason I didn't give it a higher ranking is because, like, although I can have it on in the background and hear the nuances and the music and stuff that's going on, I can't just listen to the dialogue without the picture, without the visual, because there's so much foreign language spoken in it that you get lost.
Which is weird because for me that actually raises it in my book, right?
Really?
Because it's a film that forces you to watch
more
it.
artistic. Yeah, I get that.
Quentin Tarantino won't let you not watch it.
Yeah, and
and
that's
that's actually a really cool move on his part.
Yeah, yeah, and say what you will, because Tarantino is going to go down as considered along the lines of like Stanley Kubrick and Martin Scorsese and Christopher Nolan as one of the greatest directors of all time. The guy is not a great person. Like he's not a friendly person. He's also very, very childish.
I will shut your butt down.
Yeah. He's very childish and
He also thinks he's allowed to say the N-word, which is
A
weird.
lot.
Which is really weird.
A
Yeah, like that was a
whole
huge thing because like he thinks because he makes movies with black people in it, he can say the N-word, and I don't know. I mean, speaking as a white male here, I don't know how I feel about that. So
I know I wouldn't feel comfortable.
I know, yeah,
about it,
yeah.
But I mean, yeah.
separate the art from the artist sometimes, right?
Yeah, and that's what I do with his movies, because I will always see Quentin Tarantino movies, but it's always going to be in the back of my mind. It's like, God, he's such a fucking child.
Yeah.
He's such a child. But I mean, I'm pretty sure that there was a neglected childhood that he had, which would cause him to dive so deeply into cinema, because literally is how he was raised, and it created one of the greatest directors of all time. So. But yeah, I mean, that's what I got for my rankings. As long as you guys don't have anything else to add, I think we're good to go.
There's only one thing I want to add real quick.
I don't like Nazis, is what Dylan's
Yeah,
going to say.
make it really clear.
I don't like Nazis, and I don't like Brad Pitt. I just need that known by everyone. Mm-hmm. That's what you're going to say, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I will say this. Last thing. If I'm going with your rule of just the pure enjoyment that I take from this film, I probably give it a 9.5.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But from an objective standpoint, it's a 7.
Right. Yep, and I like I said, I originally had it at like mid-9s too, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, so like, there's things in like I said before, there's things that I would change, there's things that I would do differently, there's but yeah, it's if from me viewing it and the excitement that I got from knowing that I was going to be able to talk about this movie and be able to watch it again, it was initially a 9.5.
I love tons of things that aren't good.
Oh yeah,
Right?
for sure, yeah. I mean, you're a Ravens fan, so.
Yeah. Case in point. Talk about letting your fucking
I like
hopes down.
That was a low blow. I didn't mean that. I did mean it, but
That was the low blow. All of this and you attacking my NFL team is the low blow.
Yeah, right.
whatever.
But yeah, I think we'll go ahead and cut it there. Thanks everyone for listening. Remember to give us a check out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Facebook and Instagram.
Just follow our Facebook for some cool stuff.
Yeah, for some cool shit. We're gonna be giving out some merch, some band. Well, that's gonna be afterwards too. So. Well, this will be one fucking edit fest.
If you guys enjoyed me, you can follow me in your dreams.
yeah. No social. Well, I already do. So I'm your number
You're
one
already
follower.
there.
Yeah, I'm your number one follower in my dream. So yeah, thanks for joining us. Love you guys. Talk to y'all later. Okay, bye.
Bye.
That's fun.